What's up, good people? This is the Dre Morset podcast, and I'm your host, Dre Morset. Yeah, it's been about a month and a half since I've, dropped the episode. I've been working on a lot of things. I've been working on myself. I got engaged to my longtime girlfriend of almost 5 years. Got engaged. That was a great moment. I'm glad to have her back in my life. So just had to do that, and I'm working on myself, continue to do the things that's necessary for me to get better overall as a person and overall mentally. We need these things. We need to be able to look at ourselves and say, yo, this is what I need to do for myself, and to put out better energy around people that's around me, and just give myself just a revitalization of who I am, and just get better, and understand the dynamics of what that means truly to get better. So sorry it's been a while, and I also want to be able to, for this show, I wanted to gain some real traction. In order to do that, I have to change and look at what the show needs. So I'm looking at what the show needs to get better, to get more audience, to also define who my audience is. So in this process, that's what I've been doing. Just understanding how to get better as a person, and understanding how this podcast can get better as a show, and continue to tweak some things. But I've been having a lot of people saying, yo, Dre, where you been? Where you been? Where you been? I have clients say, yo, when you dropping another episode? So this is just going to be a spur of the moment episode to give you content, but it's going to be really, really detailed. And I am targeting on this episode Blacks and Hispanics. I'm letting you know right now, I'm targeting Blacks and Hispanics because we are almost similar when it comes to the way that we eat. And that's the majority of what I want to talk about, is how things are affecting us as a culture, Hispanics and Blacks, similarly, based on the way that we eat. So I'm not even going to hold you up. I'm going to get started, and we're going to go right into it. So let's get started. First, I am so tired of hearing this thing that people say when it comes to people who eat healthy. This cliche statement that a lot of people say, I am so sick and tired of hearing. You got to die from something. I'm so sick and tired of people saying that to people that eat healthy, and try to explain to people why you may not want to eat certain things. And it's always those who you talking to they say, well, you got to die from something. No, I don't have to die from high blood pressure. I don't have to die from diabetes. I don't have to die from heart disease. And those things are caused by certain foods. So I don't have to die from that. Anything else out here that you just, things that happen in this world, I understand. But contributing to how your body, you know, gets these certain things, high blood pressure, become a diabetic, and all these things. Nah, I don't have to die from that, man. I don't have to have that. And I think that's the misconception of what people are really believing. Oh, you got to die from something. So let me break it down to you. When you look at this disease right now, colon cancer and prostate cancer, a high percentage of Black folks and Hispanics get this disease more than other cultures, whites and Asians. We get it more than other cultures. And then when you say that to yourself, what does that mean? Because when I say, damn, why is this just predominantly affecting Blacks and Hispanics? Why is this disease affecting us more than others? And when you look at that, a lot of people don't look that deep into it. I do. And what I understand is this: is it the food that we are consuming? Is it the types of food that we're consuming? Is it how we're cooking our food? Is it what we eat and how we eat it? What is really going on? And I'm telling you, man, It has got to be the food. Because when you look at how Hispanics eat and you look at how blacks eat, they're similar. A lot of oily food, a lot of saturated oils that, cook it in bad oil, just a lot of salt, a lot of things that are put into these foods to add flavor, but are not really healthy for you. How can high sodium? What is the outcome of high sodium? Well, you know what the outcome of high sodium is going to contribute to high blood pressure. All these oily foods and high cholesterol foods, what's going to do what? All these fried foods is going to do what? You know what it is. So my thing is, black folks and Hispanics, why aren't we being more diligent on how we are eating? I changed my diet in 1999. I've explained that to people on the first episode. My first episode was called Generational Health, and understanding how foods affect our body. I changed my diet when it wasn't even popular. I changed my diet when people wasn't even thinking about it on that level. So as time progresses, I've completely understand what the cause and effect of how food affects our bodies. So when we thinking about how can we contain or lower uh, the effects of colon cancer and prostate cancer, high blood pressure, being diabetic, or heart disease. How can we lower this? And anytime you try to talk to a lot of black people and even Hispanics, and I'm gonna speak just on how I've had conversation with my culture, right? So I can just speak on that. Anytime you had a conversation with black people about eating better, they always got some damn excuse. And it's always this cliche thing of you gotta die from something. And I hate that because you're not eliminating the problem. You're constantly seeing men get colon cancer, you're getting prostate cancer, you're getting having strokes, all these things. But we want to keep saying, oh, you gotta die from something. So we don't want to look at the root of the problem. We don't want to look at what it is. Listen, we're not slaves. We're not slaves. So we don't have to eat food that are slave, the scraps of slaves for slaves. We don't have to eat scraps. We don't have to eat the bullshit no more. So I don't understand. I get the one thing I do understand is this before anybody gets to making any ridiculous comments is that I understand the cultural part of it, the cultural part of the foods that we eat, the soul food, and the same with the Hispanics. They have the cultural essence of these foods that I eat, that we eat. And I'm saying we, even though I don't eat these food, I'm saying we because I'm part of the culture. I'm black. So ultimately, the funny thing is this: even though these foods are cultural, how much damage are they causing us on health wise? If you're eating these foods all the time, fried foods, processed foods, oily foods, salty foods, what do you think is going to be the outcome? Has anybody ever said to themselves, if I'm eating this every week, every other day, I'm going to these restaurants, I'm eating all this processed food, all this fake food, what is the repercussions of that? And a lot of people don't want to deal with that issue. Oh man, you were raised on this food. So fucking what? So what? Does it make it better because we were raised on these foods? You see, back then I grew up, I was a kid in the 80s, right? I was a kid in the 80s. So they wasn't tampering with food. Food was what it was. It was food. And they wasn't creating food. They wasn't creating these things or finding ways to create food. Of course, your mother had, everybody had certain seasoning salts and all that other stuff, and you did the things that you normally do back then. But now, y'all gotta understand it's different, man. Y'all gotta understand they figured out ways to make food from cardboard, from just different, situations that you be like, what are you really putting in your body? So when you're looking at black folks as a whole and you're looking at Hispanics as a whole because we eat similar, when is it time to change the dynamic of how we are eating food and what we're consuming? Do you have to have that much salt on your food? No, to be honest with you, and I don't care about the flack behind this. No black person should be drinking Kool-Aid. Look at what Kool-Aid is. It's water, some contents you're pouring in the water, and mounds of sugar. What do you think that's gonna do over time? Over time. Stop saying that we that's an inherited disease. You got that from and you got inherited. Your mother had that disease, and her mother had that disease, and her mother had disease. You know what? That's bullshit. Let me tell y'all something. You inherited certain things. Your eyes, the way you look, having certain talents. You inherited those things. You also may inherit some diseases. I'm not saying it's not true, but let me ask y'all this question. Let me ask you this question. If your mother eats a certain way and your father ate a certain way, and their parents ate a certain way, and their parents ate a certain way, and their parents ate a certain way, and the diseases that these people had, aren't you more likely to get the diseases based on the way that you were eating? Nobody has looked at that. The way that you eat. So if you eat if your mom made fried chicken every other day, or some type of salt that you're consistently putting on food, or you're eating potato chips and you're eating all this bakery, this pastry stuff. If your parents did that, what's the chance of you actually doing that for your kids and for yourself? So whatever they were doing, whatever foods that they were consuming, that eventually, unbeknownst to you, caused them to have high blood pressure, become a diabetic, heart disease. There's black folks and Hispanics. They cooking, still cooking in this bad Crisco oil, lard, or whatever. They cook bacon and use bacon grease to put it in a pot to make use it for fish grease and all this stuff. This recycled oil. What do you think that's doing to you? What do you think that's doing to your arteries? What do you think that's doing to your heart? How long? How long can you abuse your body until it says, you know what, fuck it, I had enough. This is what you want to put in me. I'm going to show you what the effects are. How long? And see, nobody wants to deal with that. But me, I look at it from a different perspective, and the perspective is, how can only a certain demographic of people or culture of people be mostly affected by a disease, and another culture not be affected as much? Look at it deeper, people. But we don't want to do that. We want to just say, oh, it tastes good. It tastes good. Yeah, it tastes good. Everything that tastes good, everything that's good that you believe is good, not good for you. We all know that. All money ain't good money. That's an example. All money ain't good money. All food is not good food. If you see me in the grocery store, you would have think that I was studying for a test. Because I know when I pick something up, I instantly look at the back of the ingredients of what's going on out here. I haven't had a soda in years. I think the last time I had a soda was a ginger ale because I had an upset stomach. And even now, I don't use that. I can have a kombucha, I think I'm saying it wrong, that has, it's a fermented drink that takes care of, that puts probiotics in your stomach and all that. And if you have any problems with your stomach, it's gonna aid in that. I don't need to drink a soda. I haven't had no soda. People drink sodas they have to have a soda. They have to have a soda with their dinner. They have to have a soda for lunch. They have to have a soda. They have to eat these things. I have to have chips. but not understanding how long can your body deal with that shit? How long does your body say, yeah, you can keep putting this bad shit in me, and I'm just going to perform the way you want to perform? And a lot of people don't even exercise. So you're not exercising. You're throwing that on top of the equation. You're not even exercising, but you're consuming all this soul food, all this cultural food. When do y'all look closer at the problem? Stop thinking everything is passed down from your mother. And this is why I got this disease. It's because my mother and my father, and they had it from their mother and father. Look closer at the dynamics of what it is. And you'll look and say, well, damn, cooking in this kind of oil, outside of olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, cooking in this type of oil is going to do what for my arteries? Eating this processed food is going to do what for my heart? A lot of people ain't even eating live the food that's not dead. A lot of people are eating food that's been dead 50 times twice over. You know, the one thing that I could never understand, even as a kid, when it comes to black folks' culture, when you go in a convenience store or a corner store and you see a pig's foot chilling in a jar of water. And I never knew what that was. Like, what is in that damn water? And who would yearn for a foot in pickled water? That's what I found. Like salty water. Who yearns for that? How could a foot from an animal put in salty water be good for you? I never understood how people go out their way in my culture to have a foot that's been soaking in pickled water or salty water. How could that taste good? Or how could an animal's intestines? I don't think y'all really understand the cause and effect of these foods. Like understanding as a people, you're saying that I can take an animal's intestines, and we all knows what filters through intestines. I don't care if you're an animal or a human. What made us? And I get it. It was from the slave days. I get it, all that. But we're not in those times. We have access to food. We have access to food. So I don't understand how somebody in our culture can say, we don't have to eat that, but this tastes good. I need some intestines. I need some chitlins. Come on, people. Come on, people. I don't know if you really understand or really know what that means. That's a shit bag. That's what intestines are. They all that filters through your body. Come on, man. So I'm even seeing some of my Hispanic friends and stuff that they eat. It's all swimming in grease. It's all swimming in grease. I remember I went to a restaurant with one of my friends. It was a Spanish restaurant, and I don't want to mispronounce the name, and I don't want to put no names out there. Look at all the food. It's all soaking in grease, just sitting in these pots soaking in grease. And it's a lot of good Spanish foods out there that's not consumed that way or not made that way. But the stuff that I seen, they eat similar to how our culture eats. We got to start changing that. The minute we start changing the dynamic of how we understand, first you got to understand what the food is. Is it really food? And then you got to understand how is it helping your body. Once you understand and have that knowledge, then you can move forward to understand, nah, I don't need to put that in my body. But as long as we have people out there say, oh man, you were raised on that. What you talking about? Once we continue to have those people, as long as we continue to have those people who believe that the consumption of these foods don't have a direct correlation to how your body is being treated and how diseases are forming, then we will never be able to move away from these diseases that plague I mean, plague. Every time you turn around, somebody in the black community or somebody Hispanic or somebody, getting the colon cancer, prostate cancer, and you got to say, well, why other cultures ain't being infested with this like this? Why? How can only a certain group or culture of people be affected mainly by a disease? How? I know white people didn't eat the way we wasn't slaves. I know they wasn't. We all know that. And I know white people have been afforded a certain type of lifestyle, majority of for as long as we can even remember. They had a head start. But the thing you need to understand is look at how they eat. And a lot of we joke a lot of times and say, oh man, their food is bland, their food don't have no flavor. That may be true to some white households. But they're not eating certain types of food, mainly because they haven't been introduced to it and they wasn't in a position to have to eat that. I get it. So if you look at it from that standpoint, you got to say, well, even though they haven't been uh, put in position to eat those certain foods as we were, that they're not consuming these foods that causes other ailments. So you look at that and say, okay, well, they ain't been exposed to that type of food, and we have. That explains a lot of it. A lot of the foods that, us as a culture, we don't have a lot of fiber, and people are not eating a lot of fiber. You have all these oily foods, and all this hot dogs and processed foods and all that. That ain't fiber. Most of y'all don't even understand what fiber does for your body. What fiber does for your body, it's like a broom for your colon. Vegetables like carrots and broccoli, stuff like that. They sweep out anything within the colon. It's almost like you taking a broom and sweeping your house, sweeping out the dirt, getting the dirt out. Like folks, Hispanics, we have got to start, minimizing some of these foods that we eat, almost down to maybe having it every blue moon. I get soul food, it tastes great, but not having it every day or having it every other day and frying your food and letting your food soak in oil and cook it in recycled oil, fish oil, um, uh, bacon oil, all these oils that you're recycling. What do you think is going to happen? And I'll give you one more example before I'm on my way out. See, people, I've been an exercise person for 30 plus years. Exercises to me is like life. People don't understand if you eating all this food all the time and you don't exercise, it just gets worse. Think about this example. If you're a person that loves speed, you love to drive really fast, and you don't wear no seatbelt, or you ride a motorcycle with no helmet, you love speed, you just love speed, and you know it's dangerous. You love speed, you love speed. How long before there's a possibility of something can happen because you're not preparing, you're overdoing the speed, you're not wearing a seatbelt, you're not wearing a helmet? What are the ramifications from that? So when you're not looking at the foods, I challenge anybody who watches this episode. The next time you go grocery shopping, look at the back of the ingredients on whatever you're buying. And if you can't pronounce one word, look it up and tell me, what does it mean? And when you look at what that word means, I'm sure you'd be like, man, I didn't know. Stop saying I don't know and realize if I look and read, I can find out what it is. And do I still want to put it in my body after the fact? Now, if you look at and read that word that's on the ingredients of whatever you're consuming or whatever you're buying, and you say, okay, I don't care, it is what it is, then that's okay, that's cool. But for those who are curious, look at the ingredients on the back of the food before that you're about to buy or consume, and ask yourself, I don't know what that means. Look it up and give yourself a fighting opportunity to say, no, I don't want to put that in my body. So to my black culture and my Hispanic culture, we can start to eradicate how certain diseases only plague our culture if we start to change how we see and view food and how we add flavor to our food and how we consume food. If we just become knowledgeable about these things, we don't have to be dying from these diseases anymore. We can push the numbers down. So, yo, this has been another episode of the Dre Morset podcast. I hope that you take away from this episode something that you can utilize to better your life, to give examples and become a better person and become knowledgeable about food and your culture and how to give your body a fighting chance against a lot of this BS out here. I'm glad to be back. I'm probably going to put out another episode in a couple of weeks, but I want to change some things before I do. Continue to like, subscribe, and comment. And I apologize for being away from you guys for a minute. But a lot of times we got to get ourselves mentally, in a different space to continue to move forward. I appreciate you guys. Motivation.